61 million years ago, you lost the ability to make your own vitamin C. 25 million years ago, you lost your tail. The gene for the jaw muscles that could crack nuts. Broken. Your appendix, your wisdom teeth, your tailbone, all ruins. You are not the top of a pile. You are what's left after a very long subtraction. You think of evolution as a thing that builds. Better eyes, bigger brains, new tricks stacked on old ones, generation after generation, until you get something as complicated as a person. Addition, all the way up. That's about half the story, and it's the wrong half. Most of what makes you human isn't something that got added. It's something that got broken, switched off, or thrown away. And almost none of it was cleaned up. The instructions for the things you lost are still sitting in your body right now, cracked and unreadable, doing nothing. You're carrying the wreckage around. Start with the most obvious missing piece. You should have a tail. Every animal in your family tree had one. Monkeys have them. Your ancestors had them for hundreds of millions of years. Then, around 25 million years ago, the apes, the hominoids, stopped. For most of the last century, nobody could say how. In 2024, a team led by Bo Zia at NYU found the answer, and it's stranger than a broken gene. There's a gene called TBXT that controls tail building in vertebrates, everything from fish to mice. It isn't broken in you. It works fine. What happened is that a small piece of parasitic DNA, an ALU element, the kind that copies itself and jumps around the genome at random, landed in the middle of it, not on anything important, in a gap between the working parts. And another piece of the same junk was already sitting nearby, facing backwards. The two found each other, folded the instructions in half, and the cell started skipping a section, an exon, when it read the gene out. That process is called exon skipping, a form of alternative splicing, and here it wasn't a feature. It was an accident that stuck. That's the whole thing. A piece of genetic litter fell in the right spot 25 million years ago in one animal, and every ape after it was born without a tail. The researchers proved it by building mice that read the gene the same shortened way. Those mice were born with stubby tails or no tail at all. Something else showed up in them too. They had a higher rate of neural tube defects, where the spine doesn't close properly during development, so the tail may not have been free. You may still be paying for it, and you do still build one. Around the 5th week, when you were an embryo the size of a grain of rice, you grew a tail with vertebrae in it, then your body dissolved it. What's left is your coccyx, your tailbone, a few fused vertebrae at the base of your spine that serve almost no purpose. The construction crew still shows up. The blueprint just gets torn up halfway through. Now, the thing that killed more sailors than combat did. Almost every animal on Earth makes its own vitamin C. Dogs do, cats do. A goat manufactures ascorbic acid in its liver on demand and never thinks about it. You can't. Stop eating it, and your connective tissue starts failing, your gums bleed, old wounds reopen, and eventually you die of scurvy. You'd assume you never had that ability. You did. The gene is called GULO, and you still have it on chromosome 8, right where it should be. It's just dead, broken into pieces, missing most of the sections it needs, sitting there like a burned-out building nobody demolished. Scientists call it a pseudogene, a ghost of a working gene still filed in the genome, accomplishing nothing. It stopped working around 61 million years ago in our primate ancestors, and the leading explanation is almost insulting in how simple it is. They lived in trees. They ate fruit. Fruit is full of vitamin C. When you're swimming in something, the machinery to make it yourself is dead weight, and evolution doesn't protect what isn't being used. The gene fell apart, nothing bad happened, and the damage got passed down. Scurvy isn't a disease in the normal sense. It's a 61 million-year-old accident catching up with you the moment you stop eating fruit. Here's where it gets slippery, and I want to show you a place where the popular version is wrong. You have a weak bite, not weak for a human, weak for a primate. Your jaw muscles are a fraction of a chimp's, and there's a specific reason. A gene called MYH16 builds heavy-duty chewing muscle in other primates, and in every human ever tested, it has a small deletion. 2 letters missing, the reading frame slips, and the protein comes out as a useless fragment. In 2004, the team led by Hansel Stedman that found this proposed something irresistible. Big chewing muscles anchor to the top of the skull and clamp it like a strap. Cut the muscle, release the strap, and the brain case is free to expand. They dated the mutation to 2.4 million years ago, right when brain size in our lineage takes off. Weak jaw, big brain. A beautiful story, and it went everywhere. It also doesn't survive more data. When Perry, Varelli, and Stone sequenced a much larger stretch of the same gene, the date moved back past 5 million years, long before our genus existed, long before the brain expansion it was supposed to explain. The timing that made the story work isn't there. The broken gene is real. Your weak bite is real. The tidy explanation for why is not. That gap between a fact and the story we hang on it is worth remembering every time you hear an evolutionary explanation that fits a little too neatly. Two more, and these are the ones that stay with me. You carry the remains of egg yolk genes. Your distant ancestors laid eggs. Eggs need yolk, and yolk is built by a family of genes called vitellogenin, VIT. Chickens still have 3 working copies. As mammals developed milk and the placenta, the yolk became unnecessary, and those genes were abandoned one at a time across millions of years in several separate events. What's left in mammal genomes are the ruins, pseudogenes, sitting in the same relative position where the working versions sit in a chicken. You have never laid an egg. Nothing in your line has for well over 100 million years. The instructions are still filed. And then there are your ears. A cat swivels its ears toward a sound without thinking. A horse does it. Almost every mammal does it. You can't. The auricular muscles are there, but they're too weak to move anything, and most people can't even wiggle them on purpose. There's also a small fold of skin on the outer rim of your ear, Darwin's tubercle, a remnant of the pointed, mobile ear your ancestors once had. In 2020, researchers at Saarland University put electrodes on those auricular muscles and gave people a boring text to read while unexpected sounds played from different directions. The muscles fired, not enough to move the ear in any way you'd see, orders of magnitude weaker than a deliberate wiggle, but consistently, measurably, and stronger on the side the sound came from. Your brain is still sending the command. Tens of millions of years after it stopped accomplishing anything, the signal goes out every time something surprises you. The circuit outlived the function by so long that we needed instruments to notice it was still running. So look at the shape of all this. A tail dissolved in the womb, leaving only the coccyx. A gene for vitamin C, ascorbic acid, rusted shut 61 million years ago. A jaw muscle switched off for reasons we've told ourselves a story about and can't confirm. Yolk instructions for eggs you'll never lay, and a command to turn your ears that your brain keeps sending into nothing. The appendix, the wisdom teeth, the palmaris longus muscle in your wrist that roughly 15% of people are born without entirely, and the ones who have it lose nothing by not having it. The plica semilunaris in the corner of your eye, the last remnant of a nictitating membrane, a third eyelid your ancestors could sweep across the eye to clean and protect it. None of this was pruning. There's no gardener. Evolution doesn't remove things because they're useless. It stops protecting them, and once a thing isn't protected, random damage does the rest. Every loss in this video is a mutation that happened to break something and happened not to matter enough to kill the animal it broke. That's what you're made of, not a design, an accumulation of damage that was survivable, wrapped around the small number of things.